So as I said earlier, part of ICYJ's mission is to help develop the next generation of youth justice professionals and leaders. And ICYJ strengthens JMU's efforts at quality workforce development by exposing students and the youth justice minor to classroom instruction conducted by leading practitioners and experts in the field, together with the NRC Practice Network and with Professor Sean McCarthy of JMU's Cohen Center. We are planning an exciting, innovating capstone course for the spring of 2024. We will be adopting the X-Labs methodology developed by Sean, where students will work with practitioner mentors and develop solutions for so-called wicked problems. This is what Sean calls them, wicked problems in youth justice. And we hope that this practical experience will help students become more market aligned and succeed right out of school. But importantly, NRC Practice Network participants also welcomed 6 JMU students into their jurisdictions as part of the summer 2023 internship program. This program, ICYJ plans to sponsor annually, and it is really unique. First, these internships were and are going to be an incredibly rich experience. They are designed to expose students to all aspects of functioning of the juvenile justice system in a particular jurisdiction. And second, financial support provided by ICYJ made and will make this internship experience possible to those students who otherwise would not be able to take advantage of this learning and networking opportunity, because typically they have to work during the summer, so then to support themselves during the academic year. But ICYJ covered all expenses associated with this internship. So it's not that exciting listening to me. It's going to be much more exciting for you to hear firsthand about these 6 students' experience. By introducing ourselves, just one by one, please tell us your name, your major, and the site where you conducted your internship.
Hello, my name is Hannah Donovan. I am an elementary education major, and I was in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Sisse. I am a Justice Studies major with a Justice minor, and I was in Cook County.
Hi, I'm Colby Wisniewski. I'm a psychology major, received justice minor, and I was also in Cook County, Chicago.
Hi everyone, my name is Megan Sullivan, and I'm a social work major with minors in youth justice, obviously, and nonprofit studies. And I was in North County, which is in Fairfax.
Hi everyone, I'm Michaela Parker. I am a Justice Studies major with a Youth Justice minor, and I was in King County, Seattle, Washington.
Hi, my name is Mary LaSalle. I'm an independent scholar student studying criminal and juvenile justice reform, and I was Megan's counterpart in South County in Fairfax.
Wonderful. Well, first things first, let's begin with the obvious. Why did you apply for this internship? What about it seemed interesting?
Okay, I will start things off, so bear with me. I applied to this internship for a number of reasons. One of them being the obvious hands-on professional experience, and also a better understanding of juvenile court processes. That was something that I definitely really struggled with in my Justice 300 class. So I know that there's a couple of you guys in here, so if you're struggling, don't worry, I did too. It's complicated. And also, as Rita said, there are absolutely no cons financially. You get a $3,000 scholarship, your tuition covered for the 3-credit class, your gas money covered if you're in Seattle, elsewhere, and not commuting, you get your housing paid for. So that's, I mean, come on, it's pretty great. And then what about it seemed interesting? I really was excited to get to work with kids one-on-one. As my social work major people know, micro-level social work practice is definitely hard to come by when you aren't in graduate school, and that was something that I found practice. So yeah, that's why I was interested.
Thanks, Megan.
Well, why did I apply for this internship? I got the email from Rita about it, and I was in the midst of looking for an internship at the time because it was my summer junior year and I wanted to. And I saw this internship and I'm like, this is amazing because I love youth justice. And I think that children are obviously the most able to be rehabilitated in the criminal justice system, in my opinion. And to be able to go in there and see how it goes and see why maybe some youth continue to offend and some youth are actually rehabilitated, it was a really fun, amazing experience, and I was excited to go. And that's really what seemed the most interesting to me.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Yeah, so kind of going off of that, as a psychology major, it's really hard to find hands-on experience, especially in undergrad, just because of a lot of confidentiality reasons, and most of the time you need a license to be practicing with hands-on like that. And especially for me, I'm specializing in child trauma studies, so it's really hard to actually work with children hands-on, again, because of confidentiality. And so this really stuck out to me because it would be working with an adverse population of youth through the youth justice minor rather than psychology, and I would kind of be able to connect the two by working directly with the youth, especially in Cook County, Chicago. So that was definitely most interesting to me, and especially the opportunity to be able to go to Cook County. That's a very influential area for juvenile justice, youth justice in general, and so it was an incredible opportunity in itself.
Awesome. Thank you, Colby. Next question. Talk to us a little bit how your internship experience has influenced your career goals and aspirations. And were you able to work on some tasks that really nicely align with your career goals?
I definitely was. As an independent scholar student, we basically curate our own majors taking an interdisciplinary approach. So I'm combining disciplines like social work, sociology, policy, and of course, justice studies. And in my career, I hope to influence like wide-scale change in this field, and I want to do that through something like policy advising. And there were several experiences that really added to my understanding of how to foster change systemically. I got to read over and make suggestions on potential policies that the unit director was going to propose and discuss with her what it's like to actually implement policy. So I also gained a bit of perspective in the relationship between policy and how it actually functions in the day-to-day responsibilities of professionals. I definitely learned how to navigate some sentiments that are a little bit resistant toward change, and it, I think, validated my career aspirations very well because it taught me how to build some confidence in that field and learning to speak up about the need for youth justice transformation regardless of how it may be received.
Wonderful. Thank you, Miriam.
I would say for me, I went to the internship thinking that I would just do like a master's in criminal justice. But as I went around and talked to everyone in different departments, I realized that a lot of them had masters in social work, which I thought was really interesting because I didn't realize you could do so much with a master's in social work. It's really broad and you can do basically anything that you want regarding children in the system. And I thought that was really interesting. So talking to people like that and just really dipping my toes in the water and seeing all the different paths I could take with a social work degree. And for the internship, we had to take a class, Youth Justice 400, and we had to do a research paper regarding a topic that interests us. And going around talking to the different mental health teams and kids who worked with kids who had mental health problems, I did my paper on racial disparities within the system regarding mental health recommendations. And I thought that was really interesting because a lot of the research I read was that a lot of the POC children, they were often like labeled as antisocial or just like acting out in school, and they were never asked about like what was going on at home, like what was like, are you okay? Like they were never asked that. And all their counterparts were always like given the mental health like services that they needed, and I thought that was really interesting. And in King County, they actually do universal screening, so they screen every single kid, no matter like if they think they have mental health problems or not. And I thought that was really interesting. So writing that research paper like really helped like define my interest in mental health in the system.
And that was an awesome research paper.
Yeah, going off of that as well, I kind of had a very set path in like psychology. If I want to practice, I have to go and get my doctorate and then either go private or public practice, something like that. And so being in Cook County, I was able to go to a conference type of thing. It was like a training course for the psychologists who worked within the building. And that was incredible because I got to meet so many different people who graduated with a psychology degree and either kept their bachelor's or just went on to do masters. So that was really opening my eyes in terms of how much I could actually do without having like a doctorate degree, which was amazing because I'm already in debt from undergrad. But yeah, so that was really great to see, and it kind of realigned like what I wanted to do in terms of incorporating youth justice and trauma studies in that, and I don't have to wait so long to do it. I can just kind of jump right in with something. Working in a school, working in the juvenile system like that was really incredible.
Thank you very much. Let's talk a little bit about the connection between the classroom and the workplace. Did you have an opportunity to apply what you learned in your coursework at JMU to maybe then some of your internship tasks?
So I so far have taken social work 387, which is called working with teens, and social work 340, which is called violence in families, both with Brandy Cook. If you know him, you love him. And both those classes double counted towards my social work degree and my youth justice minor, so that's pretty awesome. And in both of those classes, I learned about the strengths-based approach and unconditional positive regard, which is something that I definitely used when I was doing my check-ins with kids. That was one of my responsibilities. So while I was using a strengths-based approach, I would try to focus on the kids' protective factors rather than their risk factors. So if they were really into school, talking to them about that, and are they going to try to get A's next year or B's? What are we aiming for? Their cool peers rather than the ones that are maybe introducing them to drugs, the family members that they get along with, that kind of thing. And then unconditional positive regard, which for those who might not know what that means, it means accepting the actor without accepting or approving of their acts. So obviously all of the kids have made a mistake that got them in the system in the first place, but we've all made mistakes, so you know what that's like, and that doesn't make us inherently a bad person.
Perfect, thank you.
For me, I was in Cook County, which is in Chicago, and one thing that I really noticed for sure was in class we talked a lot about disproportionate minority contact in the juvenile justice system, and we talk about it, and I take my notes and I know, but I go there and it's like, wow, disproportionate is a really nice word because it was mainly just Black and brown kids. I don't think I ever saw a white child throughout my entire month being prosecuted for anything. So that was really jarring to me, like, wow, this is really a disproportionate minority contact that's very much happening all around. And it was hard for me to sit with these kids, with their probation officers, and we're going through the social, and all we talk about are the crimes that they've committed and the drugs that they've been taking and the gangs that they're affiliated with, but we never really talk about their strengths, which is kind of why in my paper I talked about how the strengths-based approach would be a very good way to tell these kids in Chicago, hey, this isn't the life that is destined for you, and you can get out of this if you just focus on the strengths that you have, because a lot of them didn't even know that they had strengths, or they don't know what strengths lie within them. So I think that approach can bring that out of them if we implemented it more in the system.
Perfect, thank you, Jennifer.
So I definitely was able to make some connections between my coursework and the hands-on learning experience that I was getting during this internship. And that was a big reason why I decided to apply, because I feel like it is so different to learn about a concept in class than it is to actually witness concepts in action, and also the way that they interact with one another. I got to read a lot of case files, so it was really interesting to be able to connect what we learn about in youth justice courses regarding adolescent brain development and theories of why youth engage in offending behavior, and making those connections between what we learn about to a youth's background and how they've gotten to their current position. And I kind of had the same experience as Jenna. I am very interested in racial and ethnic disparities in my personal studies, And we learn about and talk so much about disproportionate minority contact in class, but seeing that overrepresentation in person was completely different. And I feel like it really kind of humanized those statistics for me. And it led me to think about what methods have been implemented over the past 20 or so years to mitigate RED. And in learning about Fairfax County's use of assessment tools and how they've really streamlined the process, I chose to write about how assessment tools could possibly be perpetuating racial and ethnic disparities. They've been widely used and implemented across the United States, but there's such a variety of the tools that are used and the degrees of subjectivity required on the practitioner's part. In addition to the fact that there's a lack of research regarding their predictive validity. Now, for Fairfax County, they utilized the YASI, and all of the research that I found showed that the YASI was actually pretty effective in predicting recidivism and rehabilitative potential, but also in mitigating racial and ethnic disparities. But many tools are not. So I kind of analyzed this problem through a sociological lens and looked at how the presence of subjectivity, no matter how small, could be influencing this seemingly objective measure. So I looked at things like physical perception, emotional perception, things like anger bias and remorse bias. And remorse bias I found particularly interesting because it's such a crucial factor to a youth's character and rehabilitative potential. And it factors in so much to an assessment tool that sorry, lost my train of thought a little bit.
Okay.
The research that I found showed that remorse bias, basically, when practitioners are evaluating a remorse display, the research shows that it's heavily influenced by their personal convictions and their ability to actually identify with the client. So that I found pretty interesting, and I think that it definitely is a contributing factor to why some of these tools are actually perpetuating disparity. And then I also looked at some historical sentiments and talked about how those could potentially still be infiltrating assessors' judgment. Overall, I found that I think assessment tools are the best option that we have right now, but I think that there's definitely a need for more research in this topic and a bit more uniformity in how they're applied.
Thank you so much. I gotta say, I read final papers that students write in the Intro to Youth Justice course, Youth Justice 300, and I'm pretty much familiar with all of the information that students present in their final papers. When I was reading the final papers for this cohort, I learned a lot. Like, they were talking about things that I was not familiar with, so thank you. So let's talk a little bit about your day-to-day experiences during your internship, and specifically about mentorship. Were you given opportunities and guidance to learn from experienced professionals at your sites?
I know I absolutely had the best mentor I could have ever imagined. His name was Joseph Nagel, and he was a supervisory probation officer and not just a regular probation officer. And so what comes along with being a supervisory probation officer is that you don't take on a caseload of children that you're serving as a probation officer, but rather you oversee a group of probation officers that do have a caseload. And so I was completely blown away by what he was able to walk me through and on a day-to-day basis. He took on 2 clients, 2 children on his caseload just to kind of show me what a day in the life would be like as a probation officer. And he didn't just allow me to shadow him, he kind of let me become him in a way, like I were these children's probation officer. And so I was able to conduct a social investigation, which is really just like a comprehensive report of everything the child has been through leading up to the events and kind of their attitudes and opinions towards it, towards the system and their family life, everything you can imagine. So I was really able to have a really comprehensive and hands-on experience working with these children, and it was incredible. He took me to field sites, to residential facilities, to the schools, the alternative schooling programs that a lot of these kids were a part of. I got to see so much under just the 2 weeks I was with this specific department, and I was just completely blown away. from everything they do on a day-to-day basis and how much they actually do get to know these children. Yeah, so it was just really incredible to see how hands-on the field really is.
Like Colby, I was very lucky to have the mentors that I did. I spent a lot of time shadowing the about 3 different POs that were in the North County office, but especially I spent a lot of my time shadowing Mrs. Baltimore, who recently graduated from George Mason with her MSW, so we got along great. They all understood that I wanted to be a licensed clinical social worker someday rather than a probation officer. So they showed me how important social workers are to the field and the court system, such as, being a court-ordered therapist or working in residential treatment centers where a lot of the kids are placed. I was able to go to Timber Ridge, which is an alternative school in Winchester for boys, and I got to experience what a day in the life of their substance use program is. And that was absolutely amazing. So I'm very lucky that they gave me that opportunity. Another opportunity that they gave me was to attend a human trafficking training, which is definitely a bigger problem than I thought it was, especially surrounding youth, at least in Fairfax.
For me, I had a lot of amazing POs that I was shadowing. One of my I have a couple of favorites, but one of my favorites was P.O. Cole. And I think one of my favorite things that he did was, I like the way that he interacted with kids. It was never like, why aren't you going to school? Because a lot of them would miss attendance and it'd be like, how can I help you get to school? And he's like, I don't know how to get there. I don't have a bike. And he's like, I will get you a bike. There's a program. I know this thing. I know that thing. A lot of POs who gave the kids the resources they needed was like my favorite part, because they listened to these problems and they knew they had the resources. They knew they had the resources for a solution, and they were able to give that, and the kids felt seen and heard. And it was like so amazing to see them have hope for the system themselves. And I think they do a lot of great work at Cook County, and I was just so grateful to see that firsthand.
Thank you for sharing these wonderful mentorship experiences. How would you describe workplace environment overall? Did you feel like you were a valued member of the team? Did you have a chance to collaborate? Did you have a chance to work independently on some tasks? So along those lines.
I would say in King County, I could just feel like the work environment was so welcoming. They were all so nice to me. You could tell on my first day, they were so excited to have me there. I worked closely with Juvenile Court Director Paul Daniels, and he honestly was like so motivating, and it like helped so much because there were days I'd be so stressed, and he'd just give me like a little life lecture and be like, it's fine, you're 20, you don't need to have everything figured out. So that was really amazing to get to experience, because I was not sure like how the work environment would like accept me, or just like be able to have like a 20-year-old intern in their office. I did have opportunities to work with colleagues. I spent a lot of time with their mental health screening team. I would sit on intake screenings with kids, so they would like ask the kid what happened and just try to figure everything out. I also got a chance to work independently. I watched a lot of their different like training videos. I also got a chance to read their RFK report that John Toll did, and it was really interesting and I loved it. And I did feel like a valued member of the team. Like, I got to sit in on so many exec meetings. They would actually ask me my opinions on certain topics, and I got to meet the judges. I got to sit on judge meetings. I thought it was really cool because I'm really a 20-year-old student. So that was really fun, and you could tell they like genuinely cared about my opinion, and they pushed me to be better.
My time in Lincoln, Nebraska, inside and outside the office, was full of collaborative and helpful relationships that not only help me build professional development, but also personal. I was able to work individually on educating myself with district policy, but more importantly, I worked alongside many truly amazing people. I was able to watch several PDIs, which are predisposition investigations with probation officers, I'm so sorry. I was able to go to shelters and in a detention center. I learned at the detention center that IEPs are not transferred into the center with the youth. IEPs are individualized education plans, and they are put into place to design curriculum specifically for each student, which is enforced by federal mandates like statutes such as FAPE, which is free appropriate public education. The fact that these plans are not followed by the education team at detention centers typically is setting many youth up for failure. The systems are very intertwined, and most people don't have that knowledge, so I am appreciative that my time working alongside probation in Lincoln allowed me to follow my passion for advancing the education of future educators.
Thank you, Hannah. Perfect. So far we've been painting this very rosy, happy picture for you, but I want to talk a little bit about challenges that you have encountered during your internship. What were them? What were they? How did you overcome them? How did you grow from this experience personally and or professionally?
So I am from a very small rural town in obviously Virginia. And I live an hour away from here, so I'm never really that far away from my family, and I can go home whenever I want. And I went to Cook County, Chicago. So that was the first time I've actually really ever been in a city too. I don't go to DC. So I've been to Georgetown, but I don't really go to DC. So that was a lot for me at first. It was a very big switch for me to, not be able to see the stars and all the noises and everything like that. So it was definitely an adjustment in terms of my environment for sure. But then also because I did come from such an obviously different background than the children growing up in Cook County, Chicago, I felt it was really hard for me to sit there with the children and interact with them, and not interact with them, but to shadow them throughout their course of the juvenile justice system. Knowing that we were so close in age, but had such different experiences in life. I kind of had this sense of guilt sitting there, like, as though I was like an authority figure to them when I really wasn't, when I really didn't know anything that they had been through, anything that they've endured, and what led them to this moment in their life. But I was here essentially getting paid to do it. And so I felt that was a big learning curve for me in terms of, being able to actually connect with someone on an individual basis rather than just being there as part of the job type of thing. So that was definitely new for me. And then that also sparked, being in such a different environment, sparked kind of my topic for my research paper as well. Like I said, I'm from a very rural area. There is a lot of hunting in my area, but the gun violence and the gun aspect of Chicago was very new for me. And that also made me think about how I would have felt growing up in that environment, going to sleep every night, hearing gunshots out my window. Within my first couple of days being in Cook County, I heard gunshots out my window. We were in a very safe area, I feel like. So it was definitely an adjustment for me for sure. And so my research paper was about kind of the implications of what that community violence and the gun presence has on the mental functioning of these children and how that can kind of manifest in their delinquency. So that was a big thing for me. And personally, it kind of showed me like who I would be if my cards were dealt differently, and how we don't really know what's going on until you're in someone else's shoes. And so that was a really great experience for me to be able to kind of overcome that learning curve.
Perfectly said, Hopi. Thank you.
I would say for me, being in King County, Washington, it was hard for me being so far from my family. I was like over 3,000 miles away from my family, and I'm an only child, so my family's like really close knit, and we like talk every day, we hang out every day. It's kind of that kind of thing, and so that was super hard for me, just like being by myself in a whole new environment, a whole new city. Also just like balancing my emotions after attending so many court hearings of 13-year-old kids getting detention time, and it's just like it's so hard because I just want to give them a big hug, and I just feel like they don't deserve the cards they've been dealt, and that was really hard for me to like come to terms with, kind of just to accept it. In order to overcome that, I would talk to like people in the office and just like see how they have dealt with it and see how they overcame it. I would talk to Paul Daniels about it, and he would make me laugh and also give me advice. And being by myself, people in the office would give me ideas of things to do in Seattle, just to like get out and explore. But I do feel like I've grown personally, just like being able to find the person that I want to be for the kids. Like I want to be motivating, I want to be encouraging, and I want to just like tell them that they can change, they can be better, they can grow. They don't have to be labeled as delinquent, and they don't have to be labeled as criminals. And professionally, I'd never worked in an office before, so that was really nice getting to do that.
I would like to pop in, even though I'm not on the list, so sorry. But there is one challenge that I experienced that I would like to highlight. Our North County office was about 30 minutes away from the courthouse. And there were numerous amount of times where we had a detention hearing or something of the sort at 1 o'clock. And because the system is so overcrowded, we wouldn't be seen or called in by the judge until 5 o'clock, 5:30, 6. So I definitely had to work on my patience. There were a few like app games on the Apple Store. So yeah, where you buy your apps that I would play with my coworkers and the kids while we were waiting. So if you're planning on going into the field and work, like being a probation officer, please be patient.
Big virtue, definitely. Talk to us about some of your accomplishments or contributions that you feel you've accomplished during the internship. So what are some of the takeaways that you will carry forward in your life and in your career?
Well, what am I significant? I'm gonna do this as a two-parter because I feel like my significant accomplishment is, but my favorite accomplishment was running this informational session on an organization that was going to partner with Cook County. I ran that session with one of the SPOs, Elsie, and that was really exciting because I run a lot of leadership stuff here at JMU, so it was really fun to take that experience that I had and teach it to SPO Elsie and also have it be a part of this organizational setting that we were having, talking about this company that was coming into Cook County. And I was able to run some games with them and some icebreakers with them and just get them talking. And I know they were already tense because it was 9 a.m. and this isn't exciting for them, but I was trying my best and that was a great time. And I appreciated her bringing me on board with that. She really didn't have to. I could have just sat in that meeting with her. But she's like, wait, you have a lot of experience here. I want you to do it here so that they can showcase your talents. And I really liked that. And one thing that I'll take away from this internship experience is that connection is key when you're dealing with juveniles in this setting. I think that no one really takes the time to pause and ask them why they're having troubles with the things that they're having. And I saw many examples where probation officers were talking to children they were supervising and it wasn't going well and they were disconnected because probation officers mad about this and the kid's going through this and nobody knows the kid's going through this because they were hearing animosity from their POs. So I think connection is definitely key in this environment, and that's what I was trying to talk about in my paper with the strengths-based approach, connecting with them on the inside and seeing how we can bring those strengths into other jobs, life, anything.
Building relationships is what I would consider my biggest accomplishment throughout my entire internship. I am naturally a very shy person who did not engage in conversation unless it was strongly suggested, but here I am. I wouldn't be up here today. I wouldn't be up here today talking to an audience without the help of everyone in District 3J Probation Office, but especially my supervisors and mentors, Bev and Martin. They graciously invited me into their homes and took me to work. I met their families and made very impactful relationships. I will forever appreciate the valuable lesson I learned, which is that relationships matter.
Wonderful, thank you, Hannah. So let's talk about networking, and this is how we're going to finish up. Have you built any valuable connections or relationship that you feel will benefit you in the future? And do you plan to stay in touch with the organization or with your colleagues from your internship?
I had so many opportunities to network with community providers, judges, and just like everyone within the court. I do plan to stay in touch with them. I actually just had a meeting with Paul last week. So it meant a lot to me that they like were so like adamant about helping me like pursuing like my career and just being there for me and truly wanted to stay in contact. Yeah. I really do appreciate everyone keeping going. Like they actually were like my family for like 6 weeks. So I really appreciated them and they will benefit me because I have connections with people within the system and that I can go to for any question that I could possibly have. And I really appreciate that.
Wonderful, thank you.
So one of the reasons that I chose to be placed in Fairfax County is because of its proximity to DC, as well as mine being from Fairfax County. So I saw a lot of value in being able to network within my direct area and making those connections. And I was able to make so many connections, and I built a lot of confidence in being able to form and especially maintain professional relationships. The work culture at Fairfax County and specifically South County was so welcoming towards me, and they made me feel very comfortable while also giving me a healthy push outside of my comfort zone, which I think will definitely aid me in my future career. My supervisor, Deanna Norris, and the unit director at South County, Julie Mayer, made significant influences on my perspectives, my undergraduate education, and just my experience overall with the internship. I am truly eternally grateful for the relationships that I was able to build with them, and I would definitely be staying in touch.
Amazing, thank you. Well, this is all we have for you today in terms of the intern panel, but Hannah, Geneva, Colby, Megan, Michaela, and Mary will be staying for the reception. So if you'd like to chat with several of them or all of them, you'll have a chance at the reception. But from ICYJ, we are extremely proud of you. You made us very proud. So thank you very much. Promise.